Hey y'all, Napkin here. Welcome to the post-triple retro feature evaluation of my last three videos and what I want to do in the future. This is just gonna be a more chill video. I'm just talking into my mic. I got my notes in front of me. It's gonna be unscripted for the most part. In this video, I'll try to explain how I feel about my last three videos, my big long retrospectives, and then we can talk about possible future video ideas. Alright, so this is going to be a pretty good boundary video, I suppose, a buffer, if you will, so we can look at the past, but also think about the future. Let me tell you, I have pretty negative opinions about all three of them. They could all be much, much better if we're rating them as YouTube videos, and I was comparing them to other video essays I see on YouTube. They're like 4 to 5 out of 10. So let's talk about the first one, the Subahibi one. Out of all of them, it's the one that I sort of like the most, but it still has glaring issues. The biggest one and the most obvious is for the first chapter, Down the Rabbit Hole, up until It's My Own Invention. It just had awful video quality. It was in 480p, and then I had to upscale it into 720 because people actually watch 720p videos, unlike my shitty standards, which has been 480p for pretty much my entire life uploading stuff. But whatever. The other thing is the audio issues, also pretty glaring. I flub on reading scripts all the time. I am awful at speaking. I have awful delivery, which is why I try to fix it in post, and usually it still does not end well. I just cannot say a single sentence clearly. Even right now, I'm coughing, I'm stuttering, I'm just being a mess. The only way to fix that is just speak clearer, which is a very fundamental problem with my speech and my how my brain interprets how to talk with my mouth. That's gonna be hard to wire. When it comes to the writing, there's a lot of instances. I got a cough right now, and usually I wouldn't record, but deadline's approaching. A month after the last retrospective video, just a month one. So I'm doing it right now. When it comes to the writing itself, I just kind of eyeballed it. The way that I did it was that I read the visual novel on the laptop, wrote tiny little notes on my phone, and it was very inefficient. Then I redid the script again. I reread it and then rewrote it. And then I inserted a lot of moments that I was sort of not confident that I was able to properly display the emotions of. And that's really sort of the sacrifice that I had to do when it comes to translating or really just making a visual novel and then turning it into a YouTube video recap. You're really not going to be able to experience what I was able to. So my solution was just to tell you to read it yourself over and over again. That's what I did in the Subahibi video, and it was a bad call. That's not what you do in a video essay. Not professional, bad. However, I think in the end of my writing, I've heard this from some people's feedback, that it felt like a friendly chat about some visual novel or some crazy thing, and you're talking about it in a bar. And I really want to revisit that vibe, because re-listening it to it, yeah, it was completely not by intention, but that is just kind of how my writing turned out, I suppose. On to the next one, The House in Fata Morgana. I completely got rid of that vibe by making it more professional, because I really wanted to hammer in the emotional aspects of it, because I really didn't want to flub. or mess up the House and Fata Morgana. It's very emotionally resonant when you're reading it, that I wanted to put that through in the video itself. The problem is that also sacrificed my own input and my own personality into the writing. Besides that, it was a lot more fast-paced, and the audio issues and the delivery became even worse. So the reason why was because I recorded the audio for Subahibi in the comfort of my parents' house, which is actually quiet, but here I do it in the dorm, and it's filled with rowdy boys. It is, and there's construction, and it's just much, much worse. So I had to put myself under a blanket, and it gets very hot, and my voice gets incredibly coarse. So all I want to do is just get out of there and stop recording, which is why the audio was kind of bad. Not only that, but some of the emotional moments were ruined because of my fast-paced talking, such as, well, this kind of gets into spoilers, but I'll just say when Giselle and Michelle finally sort of physically meet near the end of the game, I feel really bad just at myself for ruining that moment that I'm sure many people was emotionally affected by, so I'm sorry. I will say though, I am proud of at least the first hour, so that part is good. Doors 1 to 3, I believe. So next one is Muv-Luv. I still had those issues of like it being too fast-paced. It is slightly better, I'd say. I learned a bit more, but I still don't know how to string sentences together and do it smoothly. Here's the main issue, at least in The House and Fata Morgana, it had like separate story arcs, and I could have said my opinions and analysis during that. But in Muv-Luv, it's just a continuous story, so there's no clear sort of stopping point. And usually I can only say my full opinions on something after an arc has ended, but it doesn't really end. And not just that, but it just wasn't resonant for me personally, which is why I didn't have that much to say about it. Muv-Luv is definitely my least favorite out of the ones that I had to read. The one big issue about the visual novel itself, the issue that I had to say that was in the video about Takeru having to talk and monologue about his own situation, that's like a lot of the visual novel that I had to cut out for the video, and is also a slog to read through, in my opinion. It's all somewhat important, but that much thinking about your own character gets on my nerves somehow, like he's taking himself too seriously. Okay, one more thing. On YouTube, the views and engagement on this one weren't great. It is my worst performing video out of the 3, which is fine. Whenever things are out of my control, I acknowledge it, and I don't try to blame myself for it. I feel a bit in my heart like, my effort was wasted because it wasn't that good. The results weren't that good, but it's out of my control. It's whatever. That's why I'm going to ask you, the viewer, what you want. So, yeah, what are the possible video ideas that you have? Just comment them straight up. I'll definitely read them. I have my own list here, and I'll just go through these visual novels one by one and why I want to do them. There's 6 or so. So first is Katwa Shoujo. It is one of the first visual novels I've read, and I've immediately made it my favorite right after reading it. And that has still stayed the case after reading many more visual novels. And, well, I read it when I was a little wee child, and I really want to know if it holds up. My hypothesis is that it doesn't really, just because it's a smaller scale story about, like, it's just a few character studies about disabled girls. But who knows, maybe it'll still be, like, really resonant for me. The next thing is the Fate route from Fate Stay Night, and my reasoning for this one is that the best way to get into the Fate series is the Fate Stay Night visual novel. And, well, we could debate about what is the best entry point, but let's say that it is the Fate Stay Night visual novel, because there's a bunch of anime adaptations and whatever, but the Fate route is the first one, and the only anime adaptation for that one is the Dean Stay Night adaptation, which is not good. So, I figured if I made a video about the Fate route, that would be, a great jumping point to watch the UFO Table Unlimited Blade Works adaptation. And then they can watch the Heavens Feel trilogy. And then they can continue to Fate Zero or whatever. The Fate route. It is also probably my favorite out of the routes. I read Fate Stay Night before. I have very fond memories for the Fate route, and I really just want to revisit it as well. Next is Yumi and Her or a different visual novel, True Remembrance. Those are just short 10-hour visual novels. By the way, I've noticed the length of my videos. They're, 4 hours long, and I figured that's one of the reasons why some people aren't watching, which is fair. I make them way too long. I would not want to sit through a 4 hour long video unless I really wanted to commit either. So I'm gonna stop. I also want to make shorter videos, quote unquote shorter. They're still probably gonna be an hour 30, 2 hours long. And Yumi and Her and visual novels like that are the perfect length. They're like 10 hours long. And I heard they're also very, very good visual novels. I just want to try them out as well and make a video about them. If you haven't heard of Yumi and Her or True Remembrance, they're great. Just research about them. The problem is that I'd probably have to record my own playthrough because there's a lot of choices involved compared to my other ones. And I usually outsource my footage from other Let's Players because I just don't want to deal with gigabytes of footage on my own laptop. I just want to download it. But I can't because this time there's personal choices and I didn't put that into the script. Yeah, but whatever, I'll figure that out later. The fourth is White Album 2, and on VNDB, that is the visual novel. That's right after Muv-Luv Alternative for the best visual novel. But I've got very personal reasons, being I watched the anime, and it is my favorite thing of all time. It is such a great tragedy between these three characters and their entire love triangle, and I love it to bits, which is why I really want to try out White Album 2 Closing, which is the sequel to the introductory chapter, or like the second part of it. The problem is, there's already a pretty great video out there, and I watched it, and I feel like it's going to be much better than whatever I make. So what I'll probably do is just play it by myself, without like writing a script for it. And if anything, any interesting thoughts or analysis comes up, I'll write it down and then make a video about it post. Something like meant for people who've already read the visual novel compared to just like a recap. So after that is Honoguraki Toki no Hate Yori and or Euphoria. I put these down because they're horror visual novels, or like really raunchy. And I thought that'd be interesting because in the Tsubihime one, that is also very raunchy. And I put a lot of personality into that one, so I figured the same would happen if I talked about a horror or something. Yeah, I mean, Euphoria is also a classic hentai eroge game. So I mean, it'll just be just a very interesting video topic in general. So the last one is the classic Umineko, and really any other longer visual novels. Specifically Umineko though. I love Umineko. I didn't read it. I read the manga, but I could go read the visual novel. You know, before I die, at least. The footage is also there, I think. The August Hale made a great series where he played it, and I could probably just steal off of it and then narrate what happens during the clips that he's shown. But that'll be like 10 hours long. That's worth it for Mineko, honestly. The other visual novels are like Uto Wareru Mono. A friend of mine is pretty much the biggest fan of Uto Wareru Mono, and that got me interested. But it's also like an RPG kind of thing. I don't know about that. Stuff like The Fruits of Grisaya, also classic. But I've already watched the anime, so. With all those visual novels, you can also insert your suggestion here. I will consider anything and everything you have thought of. Just put it in the comments below. I've seen in the comments too that some in my Muv-Luv retrospective, some don't even watch my videos, or at least not use them as actual visual novel retrospectives, but as videos to listen to or sleep to. That's completely fine. I'm happy my videos are benefiting people in any way they could, but that gives me the impression I could talk about whatever I want. And yeah, I've got many interests in media besides visual novels, you know, anime, manga, tokusatsu. But I'm gonna say something about myself I'm a bit embarrassed to admit. I'm really into girly media. I've watched many Barbie movies out of my free will. A huge brony. I love My Little Pony. And a lot of magical girl shows like Pretty Cure and stuff. And I've already made a Tinkerbell movie retrospective. Like, all of the 6 movies. The writing and editing is a bit cringy because I made it like right after the pandemic was made. And back then I don't have the standards that I do now. But the message of the video I still stand by. So, you know, just tell me if you want that. I'll probably upload it on some other channel. But yeah, main message is tell me your video idea suggestions and I'll take them seriously. I'll put them on a list. Thank you for watching. Consume everything and goodbye.